I went from being fat to jacked by myself, and in this video I will go over how you lose fat. This video will have this order. The first piece of advice will be the most fundamental and important one, and then as I will keep going, I will go over more niche pieces of advice, ones that are a bit less helpful, but not as many people talk about them. They might benefit your journey, and in general, they still work, they just give less results and require a higher sacrifice. The first and most fundamental thing about weight loss is a calorie deficit of 500 calories. I could sit here and tell you to eat 1000 calorie deficit or 250, but I chose to say the exact amount of 500 as an anchor to strive for, because one of the most, if not the most important thing that influences muscle mass along with resistance training when you cut is the size of the deficit. If the deficit is massive, you will lose a ton of muscle. You will lose more fat for sure, but a bigger portion of the weight that you will lose will be muscle, and vice versa if you eat on a smaller deficit. The second piece of advice is to take care of carbs, protein and fats intake while also consuming caffeine and sleeping as much as your body needs. The first stage of advice is the most fundamental one. A calorie deficit and resistance training. If we go up a notch, we look at macronutrients, we look at caffeine, we look at sleep. Now, caffeine doesn't really belong here, it belongs to the higher stages, but just for my own experience, caffeine has probably been one of those small things that should not really give a massive benefit that has benefited me in my journey a lot, so I decided to give it a place here. So for caffeine intake, you should consume between 150 to 600 milligrams per day, maybe less, not 600, more like 300. And on top of that, every few days or once a week, you want to take a break from caffeine for one whole day, because your body gets desensitized to caffeine with time, and by taking that break, you will get sensitive to it again. For protein, carbs and fats intake, make sure you get at least 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Eat at least 20% of your calories from fats, and the rest consume from carbs. And then the third stage, and it is cardio. The two first pieces of advice are the most important for maintaining muscle mass and actually losing weight. Cardio is important for having an easier time when losing that weight. The main thing cardio does is that it allows you to eat more and still be on the same deficit. Eating more basically makes being on the deficit less restrictive, which makes it easier for most people. Cardio is great. Do your cardio, 30-40 minutes of walking per day, 6,000 steps, and if you want to, you can run or cycle or swim. Find the cardio you like, get good at it, and you will burn a bunch of calories. The fourth stage is elimination diets and fasting. These are all the fad diets you hear about: the keto diet, the intermittent fasting diet, the vegan diet. All of these diets, they are beneficial for weight loss. Some of them are horrible for muscle maintenance, like the vegan diet. Some of them are great for muscle maintenance, like the carnivore and the keto diet. They are good insofar they actually cause you to feel less hunger on a diet. They make it more sustainable, and in some way you feel better when you're on them. If you don't get those benefits, you just go on that fat diet because someone told you to, don't do it. It's not necessary. It's just unnecessary suffering. If it actually helps you, this fat diet, go on it. It's amazing. The benefits you see are the ones you get from going on a diet. Things like less hunger, feeling better, more energy. Some of those diets talk about those benefits. The carnivore diet, the keto diet, intermittent fasting diet, they all talk about those benefits. And then the fifth and last stage, supplements. I've already talked about caffeine. Caffeine is amazing. I wouldn't call it... It is a supplement in some sense, but not really. Supplements are those multivitamins you might take, vitamin D, all of those vitamins and minerals the body needs and you might not get from your diet. On a deficit, you give the body less nutrition, which makes taking a supplement fairly important to make sure you don't get any major deficiency. Supplements can be helpful if you eat a pretty clean diet. Not really. If you don't eat a pretty clean diet and you don't get your micronutrients in, they are beneficial by a small margin. And that's basically it. Bye.